Hi, and welcome to The Scoop. My name is Pastor David Ewagata, and excited to be hosting us today on this edition of the conversation on parental wounds. With me in studio today is Rosa Sanao. She's a marriage and family therapist, and she'll share a bit about what she does and what that means. And so, karibu sana, and excited to have you here. So please give a bit of an intro of yourself, who you are and what you do.
Thank you. My name is Rosa Sanao. I am a marriage and family therapist, a child therapist, and a trainer or a facilitator. So basically, when we say a marriage and family therapist, it's the approach that we use. That basically, when an individual comes to therapy, we view you as a part of a whole. So if you're coming to therapy, we are asking ourselves, what are you bringing from your ecosystem that is your family? So we use the family systems approach, and we say you are representing a system, that as we treat you, we are treating the system. As we experience who you are as a person, we are experiencing the system you come from. So we are curious to know about the system through you. So we'll be asking more questions about how did you grow up? What was happening at home? If you're having difficulties making decisions, for example, we will ask, how did you see mom make decisions at home? How did you see dad make decisions? Who brought the meat? Who closed the gate? So that gives us an overview of where you're coming from.
Very interesting. I thought marriage and family therapy was just about, dealing with marriages and family. I didn't know it was the ecosystem that people come from, and so we all come from a marriage, we all come from a family.
Exactly.
Amazing. So we're going to be having this conversation on parental wounds. And all of us carry a story. All of us carry things that we believe were painful for us, things that shaped us, whether to make us what we wanted to be or make us the extreme opposite of what we wanted to be. And so Rosa is going to just be guiding us on a professional outlook on why are so many of us carrying wounds, and how do those wounds affect our parenting, affect our relationships with people around us, and also just how do we then as a community enable a healthy family and marriage for the future generation. And so maybe to start us off, why does trying to forget our family or parental wounds prove quite difficult for the adult?
The first thing that comes to my mind is like trying to forget your name. So it's like asking, why would you not forget your name? Why is it difficult? So when we talk about the family, this is a place where you first get your identity. I mean, you learned you were called Ewagata from your mother and father and your siblings, because that's what you found them calling you. Are you even sure that's your name? It's what they gave you when you got here. So when we talk about these wounds, or let us put it as experiences, because we are also aware that the experiences were not all wounding. We had pleasant experiences. So when we talk about these experiences, we are telling ourselves that this is where we get our foundation in the family. So when it comes from wound to the place of wounds, why is it difficult? A various couple of things. One is because our brain is wired with something called negative bias. Your brain is prone to remember what is negative and happened to you more than what is positive. And sometimes when we ask clients in therapy, what do you remember most about your childhood? It almost happens as a reflex. They may remember what was negative. And number two is because of the impact that it had. Because we are looking at childhood experiences as shaping the structure of the brain, the shape of the brain, and the habits and the patterns, because our brains learn in neural pathways. So the pathways that were formed because of the trauma, they become who I am. They shape my behavior. So they shape how I respond to my environment. So when I say I'm trying to forget, it's like I'm saying I'm trying to stop being me, because the experiences shaped who I am. So I may repress the memories, I may suppress the emotion, but I may not forget. And for some, the forgetting comes in terms of fragmented memory. There are people, because of deep-seated trauma, they cannot remember. If I asked them, Who was your friend in primary school? They cannot remember because it was a very traumatic period. So for that we say memory loss comes because of the trauma. But if I am trying to forget, I may forget the particular incident, but the feeling will always be suppressed. And the behavior that will come out is what will tell me as a therapist, this is a clue. Ask about childhood.
So many times we hear this word trauma. So what is trauma? And some examples of trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So trauma is any event, and I want to use it as childhood trauma so that we are focusing on what comes from our childhood. It is any event or incident that is potentially harmful, to a person's development, but it can be resolved with resilient relationships and support. So what we are saying about trauma really is not what happened to you, but how you perceived it. Two things, siblings can lose a parent, or different people can lose parents at the same age. But depending on the type of support they received, one will be perceived as trauma, and the other one will have been perceived as a tragic event in their life that they were able to resolve. So with trauma, it is how this person perceived it and was there support or not. So when there is the absence of support and the lack of a healing mechanism, now it records as childhood trauma. Because even for children, for example, a child who's going through a neglectful environment in this present time, if we take them out and begin to work with them, and we are able to help them establish a solid relationship, they're able to bounce back pretty fast. And they will not have the effects per se. So with trauma, we are saying it's any overwhelming event that the child was not able to process at the time because of the cognitive functions and the emotions are not well developed in terms of development, and they lacked support. So it is not just anything quote unquote bad that happens. So that
they were not able to
so that the audience is not feeling, oh, I had a traumatic childhood. We didn't have enough food. We didn't have this. We didn't
have Wi-Fi.
We didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have shoes. But all of that happened within a supportive environment.
It was an experience.
It was just an experience that you were able to sail through. But where you were unable to process, and where there was lack of a support and it was overwhelming for you, now those factors is what we can sit and say, now this can be termed as childhood trauma. Some of the examples, we can say abuse of any kind, either physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. That can be termed as childhood trauma or adverse childhood experiences. So we are also talking about children who are taken into care, maybe children who are picked up on the streets and put in foster homes or rehabilitation centers, children's homes. We're talking about if a parent was either taken to jail or incarcerated at some point or put in prison, and even remand. Can also, if there is no support, that can qualify. If a child is coming from a home that experienced a lot of domestic violence, separation or divorce, death of a loved one, prolonged illness, mental or otherwise, where a child was in an environment where there was war, for example, children who may have been born in the 207 clashes, they may need to go through some support because of the environment that was at that time. So we are talking about these particular experiences and any other thing, because again, experiences are very diverse depending on communities and depending on the particular family.
Awesome. So I think as you talk about childhood trauma, and you've said different people interpret them differently. How does our temperament affect the way we respond to different trauma in our lives, or experiences? Let me say experiences, because for one person, the loss of a parent may be an experience that they pick up from and carry on, and another one, this becomes what handicaps them. So how do our temperaments, our personalities play into this, or is there any relation between the two?
So if I get you correctly, the role of personality, is it as an adult or as a child? Even for a child, because we build our personalities right from there. Yes. The sanguines, the cholerics, the melancholics, the phlegms. What is the relation with that? Because sometimes we blanket treat people and say, you
you all lost a parent. So all of you are traumatized. All of you are handicapped, you know. And yet one person is like, I am ready to go on and build a life in spite of this. And another one is like, this person is out of my life and this is over. One, because of, that, like you're saying, the way we process the experience. Yeah.
So personality, it's two-way.
Yeah.
Because our personality is shaped by the very environment that you lived in. So for some, their personality was shaped by the experience. So even as they respond, they are responding to the environment that helped to shape who they were. Let me give an example.
Yeah.
If I was raised in a home where my mom yelled a lot, chances are, even if my personality, that is, because personality is shaped by two things, genes and environment. So the genes only shape up 2%. 98% is shaped by your environment. So if I
so for us, it's
if I grew up in an environment where my mom was constantly yelling, I would feel, or the message being sent to my brain is that I am not heard. So what do I need to do? I need to raise my voice. And then that's how we say kwetu. This is how we
decibels.
You know, but it's because probably it began with someone feeling very unheard. So we are constantly competing over each other. So we are saying the personality now over time is shaped in the home. Then now outside it becomes how you respond. So people will be seeing Ewagata as the bubbly, loud person, and they say, but we are nanga stress. If anything happens, but it's because of how you responded at home. If mom didn't have time or dad didn't have time to come in, so you, what are you crying? Move on. That's how you learn to
viewers,
respond.
This is just to remind you that me, I'm just a happy man. It is
no shots fired.
No shots fired. I am okay. I am okay. The Lord has dealt with me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just loud by nature.
Yes, but that's just an example. You see?
Yes.
So the personality is shaped two ways. So sometimes the personality does come from the genes, but you see 98% is the environment. So what we are saying is, when you come, we are looking at, this is your personality, yes. How much of it was shaped by the environment? What was happening in that environment? Because for some people, they may also shy away, but the person that they are really is someone who's very outgoing. So it was suppressed in an environment where that was required for survival. We use this when we talk about the development of also family roles. Like the hero, the black sheep, the clown of the family, the lost child, the one who's just floating in the middle, because these roles are developed for survival.
It would break them down a bit. Hero, who's the hero?
So the hero is the one who is the fixer, the messiah. You have that sibling who no decision happens, no meeting happens if they are not there. Even if you all came and you've eaten and they say they are stuck somewhere, the meeting is cancelled, Murudi Nairobi, until he comes.
The hero shows up.
You know, so the hero role is developed either as a result of this sibling stepping into a role to help parent the other siblings, because mom or dad, or either both of them, are dealing with something that is very overwhelming, that takes their attention off the children. So I'll give an example of an alcoholic family, where the father is highly alcoholic, and not because to stereotype fathers, but just as an example. It could be the mother, it could be the father. So one parent is alcoholic. Almost by default, the other parent will be the enabler or the codependent, because when the parent is not around, they're taking care of things at home. So when these responsibilities are relegated to one parent, who is left to watch over the other siblings? The first child.
And that becomes the hero.
Yes, or whoever child may take up that.
It might not necessarily be the first one.
But whichever child will take over that. So when they take up that, what message is being sent? You have to grow up. You have to be responsible. You cannot make mistakes, because when mom left you with a do-re-mi of your siblings, they're like, I need to find who you are meoga, who you are mikula, this one is taken care. So the child now becomes an adulted child, because they step into the adult responsibilities too fast and they cannot play. Internally, what is happening, the child is learning to be perfect. And now that can work as a counterproductive measure, because nobody is perfect. So this will be an adult who will be afraid of failure, is more task-oriented, They find their worth or approval in achievements. So
And
they
they're always taking over every meeting, every plan.
Yes, and they are the high achievers. They are, and not to mean that this is
A bad thing.
Yes, if you're an achiever, it's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean you're traumatized, okay? But they may likely tend towards those behaviors. They'll get so many awards because they are the golden child. Yeah. And so this one now is the one who again may not give their parents a lot of trouble compared to the black sheep. Okay, so there is what we see outside, which is the achiever, the responsible one, the clean one. Inside, this is a child who's suffering a lot of shame. They're unable to express their emotion because they need to fit within a certain box. They're unable to allow themselves to make mistakes because everything has to be perfect.
And they're fixing everyone's problems.
And they're fixing everyone's problems. So they become a caregiver. They may suffer from burnout, compassion fatigue, and a lot of codependency because they learn to put other people's needs ahead of themselves.
Let's go to the second one.
The second one, let's call this one the clown. Let's look at the clown. This one
Why do I feel judged?
Like we said, no shots fired.
No shots fired.
You're not being targeted.
Let's go to the clown. Let's go to the clown.
So,
clown and black sheep. I'm stuck somewhere in between there.
And people adopt different roles depending on the situation in the family and what was happening at that time. So you can shift from one role to another. So the clown, this is the comedian. The mascot, you know, the one who is used to ease the tension. This is that sibling or that family member who you're in the middle of a serious discussion and they'll just make a very funny move and we shift the discussion.
To save the situation from exploding.
So they help the family go through difficult circumstances through humor. Now what is seen outside is a child who hananga stress. This one will always make us laugh. In fact, when the mother is stressed, we'll want to come, call for me, I need to come and sit here, I need to laugh a bit. What is happening internally is a child who has learned to suppress their emotions because they need to be the happy person all the time. You know, they are unable to express anger. They have a lot. They may have a lot of suppressed anger. They may be unable to express overwhelming emotions like sadness. And they may also feel responsible to carry the need to diffuse difficult situations. So
they are the coffee anans.
And outside that, and most middle children also may tend to fall under the clown role. And then we look at the black sheep. So the black sheep, this one is the one who we usually say manifests the undercurrents of the family. Because they're the ones who are constantly blamed for what's happening. Now, what does this role serve for the family? It's easier when we have someone to blame for everything. It makes all of us look good. At least when we are calling a family meeting to deal with your problem, it means all of us, our problems can go, you know, and then it puts us to the forefront as saviors because we're all coming to give you a solution. But what that does is that it puts this person in a place of shame. If this person, what may be happening outside, they look irresponsible. They may be the one who's suffering from many addictions. They may look like they don't have life put together. But internally, they are feeling condemned. They may be walking with a lot of shame. They may feel unloved and misunderstood. So if I am sitting with this person in therapy, they'll say, nobody understands me. They may feel like no one cares. But on the outside, we see this is the one who needs to be fixed, while on the inside, he needs room to make decisions for himself and take up the consequences of that. So when we look at the black sheep, and even this is to families out there, when you're remembering that sibling of yours who's the black sheep, in fact, they need to be applauded. Why? We call them the identified patient, because most of the time,
the rest are hidden.
All of you will pay for therapy for him. So when he is coming into therapy,
he'll call you in one by one.
In fact, most clients will call me and tell me, I have this sister, I have this brother who needs to be fixed. Can you fix him? And when this person comes into therapy, what we'll tell them, number one, is you were the brave one to bring out everything that was being hidden inside. So as you're bringing them out, applaud yourself that you were brave enough to embrace all of that, because it sets them free to know that they're not the origin of the problem. They are just a manifestation of it. So they were able to bring that, and that helps to treat the entire family. And I tell family members, this one is just showing us what's happening around. The things mumefunikia huku, the carpet, this one, you are the carpet, this one is what you've been sweeping under the carpet. Then we have the lost child.
The no-show.
The one who is invincible, who feels like, you know, I'm inconsequential, you know, and things just happen and bypass them. They may not know who's getting married, who's having things always just catch them by surprise.
Mteja wa nambari uliopiga. They're the mtejas.
Even if they're in the home. And how is this role developed? It's developed because this is a child who may be telling themselves, Mom and Dad are already having a lot of problem with our rebellious child. Or they may be having a lot of problem because Dad is doing ABCD or Mommy is chronically ill. So this child is attempting to fix the family. Yes, is attempting to fix the family problem by drawing back. At least if I am invisible, I am giving Mom and Dad one less burden to worry about. They feel like
they have 3 children, but ideally they have 4.
They have 4. So this child is trying to fix it in that way. What do we see outside? A compliant child, a child who may love to play with pets, who loves to be alone, who just loves to read, sit and observe. They may be very silent. They may move along with the flow. What is happening inside is a child with low self-esteem, a child who's feeling isolated and unaccepted, a child who may be feeling unheard. Yeah. So when we look at the family roles, you see how they're developing. All of them are attempting to fix a family dynamic that is happening. And in that fixing, it is a reflex of a child to feel responsible for what happens in the home. Because children believe they cause things. You see, when a child is small, when they cry, you'll all come thinking, is it diapers, is it food? So a child knows in their youngest age, I cause things to happen. So when problems are at home, I also caused them.
I know.
And when we are helping children to grieve, one of the questions they ask is, I did not eat, is that why Mommy left? Because you see sometimes in just the, if you don't eat, I'll go. God forbid the parent dies. So the child is left feeling, Mommy died because I did not eat, I did not follow my regulations or something. So that causal effect, it grows and fades away with time. But in that young age, that is what makes children adopt the roles, or makes us adopt the roles to fix the family dynamics that are there. So that is how now you develop also personality in response to the environment. While we do acknowledge that, genetics also do play a big part.
Wow, that's amazing. So, wow, you know, that we wake up, we cry, and things happen. We cry, diapers are changed. And so now the parent leaves and we know. We pushed a button. We just don't know which button we pushed, right? And so our response is, it's my fault. And so all the kids take their shape. The one who takes responsibility for his fault, takes responsibility. The one who fades away because they don't want to cause any more trouble. The one who just, makes sure that everyone is happy in the midst of the drama. And then, of course, the guy who tells you, we are drama.
We cause things.
we caused it and we are not apologizing. Kwa ground vitu ni hivi. And so, why is it that even as we grow up, we rarely come out of the shadows of our parents? We still pretend in front of our parents up to adulthood, and we never kind of come and say, you know what, Dad, this is what it meant for you to behave the way you behaved or to live. And we kind of just take the mold of that little child. I mean, you've already stepped out of the house. You don't have to worry about him refusing to pay fees or, buy food. They can't close you out of the house because you have your own house keys. They don't have to pick you up because you are lost because you have your own car. But somehow we just kind of come back and we never really outgrow that place of the role that we played in the home and our response to our parents. What's that all about?